Hi guys, this is Rick, the layman apologist. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you coming in to watch the video. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you find it entertaining. Hope you find it educational. Just a quick background. I know in my other video I listed a little bit about me and why I'm doing the channel, but I've been really self-conscious about doing the videos. I feel like if I look off to the side or if I scratch my nose or if I mispronounce a word or something, I've got to start over. And I'm no video editor, and time constraints due to my regular job and life in general, it has dissuaded me from continuing and doing this as regularly as I want to. So I want you to understand that, I'm looking at these videos that I'm doing as you're somebody that already knows me. You're one of my kids, you're one of my friends, you're somebody from church, you're already somebody that knows me, loves me, and you want to hang out for a little while. I don't think that this is going to be the new biggest thing on YouTube. I hope people find it. I hope they like it. I hope it encourages people. The biggest thing I want to do is encourage believers, because the way atheists and society acts now, believing in God and having a faith in Jesus is so readily mocked. We're ridiculed. We're said to be stupid and gullible and foolish. And I really want the videos that I share to hopefully give people some encouragement and some reasons to understand that the beliefs that we hold and the reasons that we do believe are very valid, and they're justified. So what I'm going to do is try to do the videos and not be so self-conscious on every little stumble and things that aren't perfect, because if you're watching this, it's probably because you already know me and you're interested in this because you love me and you want to know more about what I am interested in. So without further ado, this video is ideas I came up with while listening to the book Return of the God Hypothesis by Stephen Meyer, and it kind of tied back in with some of the other books that I've read and listened to on Audible. Because of the way I work, it's really hard for me to sit down and read books a lot, so I listen to books on Audible a lot. I listen to the Bible to get through the Bible. I pulled it out earlier when I was doing a take on this video. This is a Bible that my daughter got me. It's a student apologetics Bible. It's the Holman Christian Standard Bible. Love it. It's an awesome Bible. But I kind of, and I track it in the back of my Bible. I have it listed. Sorry, it's not very easy to see, but since October of 2018, I have listened the Bible through 10 times. I'm on my 10th time now in the last, 3 years or so. So I'm getting through the Bible about every 3 to 4 months, depending on how much time I have available. The Bible has slowed down a little bit because I've incorporated so much other reading the last couple of years. So I'm getting through it, more on that 4-month time frame instead of the 3-month time frame, because I'm trying to learn more about apologetics and tie that in with the Bible. I talked about it in the other video. The Bible's so awesome. I used to be scared of the Old Testament. Even Pastor Matt in a youth message a couple years ago talked about how when he was younger he had issues because you see the wrath and the judgment in the Old Testament, and it makes you feel so unworthy. Those people had so much they had to do under the law, and we're so blessed to be under grace now. So it's a just whole different thing. But I spend a few hours every day between the Bible and books, and I also like to watch on YouTube different Christian ministries and different atheists and stuff. So just as an idea, this is from my Audible account. I just started today. Is God a Moral Monster? Listen to More Than a Carpenter by Josh McDowell. Unbelievable by Justin Brierley. In Defense of the Bible by Russ Miller and Josh McDowell. The Blind Watchmaker by Dawkins. Remarkable Record by Henry Morris. The Emmaus Code by David Limbaugh. The Saved Without a Doubt by John MacArthur. Stealing from God, Frank Turek. Seeing Jesus from the East. Kingdom of the Cult, Strange Fire. Got Return of the God Hypothesis. I just finished that. Know What You Believe by Paul Little. Jesus on Trial by David Limbaugh. Reasonable Faith, 3rd edition, William Lane Craig. On Guard, William Lane Craig. The God Delusion, Richard Dawkins. Scientism and Secularism by J.P. Moreland. Knowing Scripture by R.C. Sproul. Cold Case Christianity by J. Warner Wallace. How to Study the Bible by John MacArthur, The Gospel According to Jesus by MacArthur, Tactics by Greg Koukl, I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist by Frank Turek and Norman Geisler, and Love God with all your mind. Oop, it's going to start playing. Sorry, this program. Hit the wrong button. That's where it was finishing up. Love God with all your mind. To me, Pastor Fred a couple of years ago did the Summer of Love, and he went through the scripture where Jesus is talking to the scribe or Pharisee, and they ask him, good teacher, what's the most important commandment? And he says, there's two. First, love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And second, love your neighbor as yourself. And that whole love God, love people really stuck with me. But right there, he's telling us you've got to use your mind, and that's who I wasn't. And sometimes when I'm listening to stuff especially on YouTube, I can't remember. I had trouble remembering Sam Harris's name a minute ago on one of the takes I was doing, but Give Me an Answer is one of the ministries I like listening to, and this guy, he's from up north, and he engages with college students on campuses and talks to them, and to hear them ask questions and the way they understand things. And I see myself, years ago before I got this hunger and really went after it. And if all are headlines, if all are talking points, like, Dawkins throws out and Krause and Sam Harris, I can't speak too much to Krause and Harris. I've got one of Krause's books downloaded. I've got one of Harris's books downloaded, but I haven't started them yet. But I've gone through two of Dawkins' books, and it's just, in my opinion, it's a mess. I know I don't have the credentials that some of these other people do, but it's a mess. And he is so superficial, and so many atheists, they don't take the questions and the facts to their logical conclusion. They just throw out things, and they are very superficial in their thinking, and they don't stop and really delve into what they're saying. Just like in the Return of the God hypothesis, there's things where, they're making assumptions. People on academics, especially like Dawkins and even Krause, they're so mocking and condescending towards Christianity and towards Christian belief, but they don't tell you. They talk about what science has done and science is going to do, and I really feel like a lot of times when Dawkins is talking, it's almost like a science of the gaps. Well, yeah, we don't know now, but science will tell us eventually. And they look at things like I'm going to point out, and they say, well, that's a God of the gaps. Well, no, it's not a God of the gaps, because I'm not putting forward that God did it because we don't know. I'm putting forward, just like Frank Turek does, just like some of these other apologists that I listen to do, we're putting forth the best explanation to fit the facts according to what we do know and going off of what we have experienced. So I'm going to go down this list. I wrote this the other day as I was listening to Return of the God hypothesis and things that occurred to me going through that and tying back in with different things that I've read and listened to. One of the best ones for anybody, and I think I mentioned it, might even shown the book in another video, but The Evidence That Demands a Verdict, Sean McDowell and Josh McDowell, that's the best book. It has so much information and goes through so many different arguments. And the thing I really enjoy about most of the apologetics material I've looked at, they really look at both sides and go deep on both sides to show why what we're believing is good and what they're putting forth is not valid. And you don't get that from the other side. They just mock. They don't really want to explain. But, when you get into science and stuff, they make assumptions. They put forth they postulate these theorems and these ideas. And one of the things that blew my mind when they're talking about the multiverse and stuff is they talk about these, so some sort of, I can't remember. And then there's the field generator, the one that generates the universes. It's like a universe generating machine, and that every possible universe, it's an infinite number of universes. It's been making universes forever and all this stuff. But they go through and they limit different variables to only work with the way our universe comes out. It's kind of funny. It's just, he even pointed out that in the papers that these people had written, they literally take kind of a step back and are very careful in how they lay out these different parameters and stuff that they're setting up, making it sound like it's not really us deciding to do this because this is going to make our experiment or our theorem work. We're doing this because this is what you're supposed to do, and it's not. I mean, there's literally an infinite number of possibilities. One of the things in there, I can't remember what it specifically went to, but it literally is 10 to the 500th power possibility for what he was saying. And scientists accept that. They grasp onto that. They are so dead set on not wanting there to be a God and not wanting to have accountability outside of ourselves that you're willing to give up so much intellectual capital that something that is literally 10 to the 500th power, 500 millionth power, what? It's stupid. It's like there's 10 to the 82nd subatomic particles in the universe is what they say. And some of these things that they're postulating, you need to get Stephen Meyer's book, the God hypothesis returns, or Return of the God hypothesis, because he goes through so many of these different scenarios and breaks down just how ridiculous some of these ideas that science is putting forward as if it's a done deal and it's a fact and it's been proven. It's mind-blowing. So on this, sorry for the delay. This is what I'd written down. So, creation. Einstein did his fudge factor back in the 1920s because he didn't want an eternal universe. He wanted an eternal universe. He didn't want a universe with a beginning. So he did his fudge factor when he was doing his theory of relativity and stuff because he saw the numbers showed a beginning and he didn't like that because it gave too much credence towards theism. So he fudged his numbers. 5 or 8 years later, whatever it was, other scientists were going through his work and found what he had done, and he admitted what he did. And then, we get into the 60s, and the guy was making fun of the creation of the universe and the Big Bang. He called it Big Bang to make fun of it because he believed in an eternal universe. And it's like a lot of times I feel like scientists don't really go deep, and they don't really go into the whole thought process. I've got a bachelor's degree in business. I'm not a physicist. I'm not a biologist. I don't have a terminal degree. But how many classes do you have to take? How many degrees do you have to get to understand that it literally is impossible to have an actual infinite? It's like I said just a second ago, it's 10 to the 82nd power number of subatomic particles in the universe. Okay, the universe itself is not even truly infinite. It's growing, but it's not truly infinite. There is no such thing as an actual infinite. There's a potential infinite, like going into the future, but there's no such thing as an actual infinite. If you have a past eternal universe, it's absolutely impossible to arrive to today. Today never happens, because if you have an eternity to transverse before you get to today, you never get to today because you've already should have gotten to today. You never get to it. There's never a place to start. So it's absolutely impossible to have an eternal universe. Even when they talk about the singularity, they talk about quantum foams and quantum vacuums and stuff. The singularity, when and where do you put it? You have to have time, space, and matter all come into existence at the same time. Because if you have matter, but no time and no space, when and where do you put it? You can't have one without the other. All three have to come into existence at the same time. Also, with the singularity, a body at rest tends to remain at rest. If the singularity is there, then what caused the Big Bang? Because if it sat there for whatever amount of time it was prior to the Big Bang, what changed? So if something's there and it's happy being there, there has to be some sort of an external force applied to it to get it to change and to blow up and become the Big Bang. It can't happen. Atheists believe nothing blew up and made everything, and they mock us. In the book, Meyer talks about the 5-nucleon crevasse. Okay, that science doesn't know how anything gets past 5 nucleons, which is your total of protons and neutrons, without external help. There's no way. They can't figure out how you get it, because the half-life is like a trillionth of a second. So once you get 5 nucleons to come together before you can get another nucleon on them. They've already split up and broke down again. The half-life is like literally some sort of a trillionth of a second. But they haven't been able to explain that, but still they believe that somehow everything came together and formed into different elements and stuff all on its own. It's crazy. The origin of life. Okay, so what was the first life? Okay, was it an animal or was it a plant? Okay, how and when did it change into the other? Okay, how did it go from being a plant to an animal or an animal to a plant? And then how do you explain the Cambrian Explosion where you have all these different animals all together at the same time and all piled up on top of each other? You don't see, if what scientists say should happen, you should have this huge long break, and you get into all the different theories of evolution they've come up with the, what do they call it? I'm sorry. Where you have the punctuated equilibrium, where you have change and then everything's the same, and then change and everything's the same. But the change happens so fast you don't get a record of it. It's ridiculous. Morality. There is no absolute morality unless it comes from outside the mind of man. Everything, whether it's evolution, we think this way because it promotes human well-being, speciesism, social, government dictates personal. It's okay for you, but not for me. All end up as a preference. It's either a personal preference, a society preference, a majority preference. So if there is no God, there is no moral lawgiver. We're not saying that people that don't believe in God can't be moral people. We're not saying they can't understand and behave in a moral way. What we're saying is you can't justify it. Okay? Without God, everything ultimately comes down to preference. Okay? You can't say that somebody is right and somebody's wrong if there's nothing outside of us. It's just what you want, what your community wants, it's what your country wants, it's what people around the world, majority of people in the world. I love the guy on Give Me an Answer. He always goes back to Nazis. If the Nazis won World War II and then literally physically either killed or brainwashed every person on the planet that thought gassing Jews was wrong, so that only people on the planet believed that the Holocaust was a good thing, the Holocaust was still bad. Okay? Even if every single person on the planet believes that wiping out the Jews and doing the things that the Nazis did was a good thing, if every single person on the planet thinks it's a good thing, they're wrong. It's ridiculous. Might doesn't make right, and societies don't make right, and personal opinion don't make right. It's either right or it's wrong. Okay, and I totally get that there's some gray areas in different parts of life and stuff. I'm not trying to say that everything is an absolute, but there are absolutes. And if there's one absolute, there has to be a God. People use a lot of times the reason of evil and the problem of evil as a way to say there is no God. Without God, there is no such thing as evil. If everything, like Dawkins says, everything is just blind, pitiless indifference. The whole universe is going to die in heat death, so who cares? But he's one of the first ones out there yelling and screaming about social issues and carrying on and acting like everything's so important. But then he'll tell you point blank that ultimately nothing matters. But none of us can live that out. Whether you're agreeing with me on the way I think about stuff or you disagree with me on how I think about stuff, you believe things and you act on it and you live your life a certain way. But I'm saying if you don't believe in God, you're doing it and you're not doing it consistently with how you live. It's like Frank Turk talks about. People steal from God and steal from our worldview to try to justify and figure out their worldview. You cannot consistently and logically live out atheism. Stop and think about atheism. If everything about evolution is correct, our brains are just evolved gunk. Everything that's going on in our head is just a chemical exchange. It's some sort of a chemical process. Our brains are fizzing, like Greg Durbin likes to say. I'm sorry, Jeff Durbin. If there is no God, then we can't even trust our minds. C.S. Lewis talked about it and wrote about it back in the 40s and 50s. If our brains are just the result of blind, unguided evolution, then you can't even trust what we think. If we have no external source for who we are, I mean, I'm a body, I'm a person. I have a brain, and I have a body, and I have thoughts and all that stuff. But the essence of me is not this body. It's the mind, and it's what goes on in the mind that is who we really are. There's electrical energy going through our bodies, and when we die, that electrical energy is gone. But we all know that nothing can be created or destroyed. Energy can't be created or destroyed. Matter can't be created or destroyed. It only changes form or whatever. So how in the world do we get on an even playing field with people when you don't even want to look at what you believe and do it in a logical, consistent way? If you got a phone, got my work phone, but you got a phone, and somebody hands it to you and says, this was created using nothing but blind, unguided processes, but it can do everything your iPhone can do. You're not going to buy that phone. You're not going to want anything to do with that phone. John Lennox has used that analogy with some of his academic friends, and it's frustrating, honestly. And I get fired up. I'm sorry, I've probably gotten loud a couple of times on this video, and it's gone longer than I meant to, but it's very frustrating, and it honestly makes me angry. I have no problem. If you want to believe there's no God, God bless you. You do you. All right. That's totally up to you. God gives you that choice. America gives you that choice because America recognizes in the Constitution and in the Bill of Rights and in the Declaration of Independence that we have certain unalienable, not alienable, but unalienable rights that are given by God. Okay. And unalienable means you can't restrict them. You can't put someone, just like you get a lien on your house. You don't pay the plumber to come fix your house, so he puts a lien on your house. That way you sell your house, he gets his money. That's how it is for our rights. They're unalienable. Means that they cannot be restricted. The government is not laying out what we get. They're recognizing what we already have and that they're not supposed to trample on. And it's frustrating because we live in a society that has really strayed from where we started, and it's enough to make you mad. But we're supposed to be kind, we're supposed to be humble, we're supposed to love people. So we try to engage people and do so in a respectful, kind way. Even in, I think it's 1 Peter, where it talks about where the whole word apologetics comes into what we talk about. It says in the Greek apologia, always be ready to give a defense. First set Christ apart as Lord, and always be ready to give a defense for the hope that's within you. And for us, that's where apologetics come from, is that defense of the faith is apologia, and it's apologetics. And it says to do so with kindness. And so that's what we want to do. And we want to be nice, we want to be loving, and we want to encourage people to think for themselves. Don't just accept what Dawkins says. Don't accept what I say. Don't accept what anybody says. Read the Bible for yourself. Read it multiple times. Read these books. I mean, you want to know about something, you get a hold of evidence that demands a verdict. You get hold of, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. You get hold of the return of the God hypothesis. You get a hold of Reasonable Faith by William Lane Craig. You get rid of On Guard. Get a hold of On Guard by William Lane Craig. Some of these different guys, J. Warner Wallace with Cold Case Christianity, Frank Turek, Stealing from God, Greg Koukl, Tactics. These are awesome books. And look at it from the other side. Don't just inundate yourself with stuff from your own side. I went through the stuff that I've listened to. I've got a Kindle account, and I try very hard to read through and to learn what atheists believe, because I think the best way to know what you believe is to understand what the counter arguments are. And so I try to go into it, and I've got different books on my Kindle. But honestly, it's very hard to go through the stuff for atheists, because they're so condescending, and they're so hypocritical, and they have such a high standard for what Christians are supposed to have for evidence, and what the Bible's supposed to have for evidence and stuff, but then they're willing to believe that the whole universe came from nothing, and different parts of the different parts of the scientific information and strategies and things that they put forth to explain the universe has literally a 1 in 1 10 to the 500th power. There's 10 to the 82nd power subatomic particles in the whole universe. But they will accept something that only has a 10 to the 500th power of probability. That's how strong their commitment is to materialism and to not accepting God. So, end of the rant. Hopefully this video will make it up. I'm not sure, because this went a whole lot longer and got more fiery than I meant for it to, but we'll see what happens. Love you guys. Hope to see you back soon. Thanks. Bye.